Now, in breaking news, President Trump just spoke to Fox News while he's on Air Force One in a stunning interview. Also, Ro Khanna stumbles over his words when he's confronted over the Biden scandal, and the co-founder of Ben & Jerry's has been arrested.
If you take a look at the pharmaceutical and drug cuts, they're so massive that I think a lot of Democrats have to vote for the bill, number one. Number two, even if I didn't do this today, even if there was no such thing as these, 50 to 90% cuts, I mean, think of it, where we're buying, you're selling drugs in other countries for 5 times more than it costs in the United States. How horrible that is. Anyway, but that's going to be a thing of the past.
Some of them are they're cancer drugs too sometimes.
Yeah, everything. It's very unfair. Very unfair to people. They have cancer, they don't have much money, they have enough money to get through this, but then they end up going bankrupt. People were getting themselves fixed up or not getting fixed up. Either way, and still they were going bankrupt all over the place because they couldn't afford the drugs. But if they lived in a different country, they would have paid just a fraction. Think of how horrible that is. Anyway, so I fixed that. Nobody thought it was fixable, and I fixed it.
It's partially fixed because it requires Congress to actually vote and codify this executive order from the president, like all the other thousands of executive orders he's issued up to this point. And I'll be honest with you, I've had it up to here with Republicans. I'm not too sure that they will actually do it. They talk a good game, which you will see throughout this video, where they all agree, yes, we should pass this bill. But when it's actually time to do it, more than likely, it probably won't happen. Now, here is the president talking about his economic agenda. Take a listen.
There are many legs to your economic plan that you're laying out. One are the trade deals. Second is tax cuts permanent, no tax tips, no tax Social Security,
right? No
tax overtime. Another leg would be energy.
Interest deduction on cars. Remember that.
That's
so
big.
No tax on tips, no tax on Social Security benefits for seniors, which is so great. Think of it. And no tax on overtime. But there's a fourth leg that I think is really important of that, where middle-income people, but any people, if you buy a car made in America, I'm not interested if it's made anywhere else. I couldn't care less. But if it's made in America, you borrow money to buy the car, which I guess 80% of the people do, you get a tax deduction on your interest payment.
And the no tax on Social Security, yeah, that doesn't look like that's going to happen because it has turned into a $4,000 tax deduction, which means, I guess, essentially, people in Congress are not actually listening to the president, okay? And that is the reality. The president has what he wants to do, but Congress seems to be doing their own thing. That's why I said it's always going to come down to whether or not they will vote on a lot of these policies. So there's that. And the president also had something to say about Chuck Schumer. Take a listen.
No, Chuck Schumer is very disappointed.
Is he afraid to go against that radical base?
I think he's afraid, yeah. I watch him. He's lost his confidence totally. I just watched Chuck Schumer. I've known him so long, and he's in the other party, but, I've known the guy so long. He's totally lost his confidence.
Yep, there's no question that he lost his confidence, including the entire party, as they try to hide from this Biden scandal that CNN continues to run every single minute and MSDNC continues to hide from, just really laying out what's actually happening. But this takes us to our next story, and that is a continuation from what happened earlier today, where the co-founder of Ben & Jerry's has been arrested. Take a look at this.
The budget I'm presenting today supports these goals and reflects...
The witness will suspend. The committee will come to order. Capitol Police are asked to remove the individuals from the hearing room. Members of the audience are reminded disruptions will not be tolerated. Congress pays for bombs to kill kids in Gaza. Members of the audience are reminded disruptions will not be permitted while the committee conducts its business. Capitol Police are asked to remove the individuals from the hearing room. The audience are reminded disruptions will not be permitted while the committee conducts its business. Capitol Police are asked to remove the individuals from the hearing room.
Now, right there towards the end of the clip was the co-founder of Ben & Jerry's. He was arrested by Capitol Police right at the beginning of Bobby's testimony in front of that committee. And what's interesting is he wasn't the only one. There was a total of 7, according to the report here. Now, they're saying in this story that he was protesting the United States response to the Israel-Hamas war in Gaza. Quote, RFK kills people with hate is what he was screaming out. And then he posted this on X. I told Congress they're killing poor kids in Gaza by buying bombs, and they're paying for it by kicking poor kids off Medicaid in the U.S. This was the authorities' response. Someone tell me how anybody should be upset at the way that the Capitol Police responded to an individual disrupting a congressional hearing. And it's just sickening what we've seen from Democrats today. That's how the hearing started with Bobby. Here's how it ended. Take a look.
And Mr. Secretary, I'm over here. I've been sitting through this hearing all day today and have noted that you've been unable in most instances to answer any specific questions relating to your agency.
Because I haven't been given time.
Well, no, you have been given time, but the point of the matter is you've been unable to answer specific questions. Sir, you are the wrong person for this job. And you had in this hearing today the unmitigated gall to say at the beginning of your testimony that China is ahead of the United States in healthcare because China does not have DEI.
I didn't say that.
Well, we can roll back the tape. You absolutely did
And you will
say
find
that.
I didn't say that.
That is absolutely what you said.
I was talking about science, and I didn't say they're ahead of us. They're ahead of us in some forms of science, certainly not in healthcare.
Now, the perfect term to sum up what happened today on Capitol Hill is there was repeated C-SPAN moments, just senators and representatives and people in Congress arguing back and forth about nothing. Okay, they're not even actually talking about the issue. They're more or less arguing about each other, which is just insane. This is what we send people to DC to do, I guess. But what's more insane is the next story. So behind all of this was this other story about Joe Biden. Yes, Democrats are still having the answer for it because I guess now the media wants to press them on it, starting with Ro Khanna. Here he is fumbling over his words when he was confronted with old clips where he said Joe Biden was mentally fit. Take a look.
Sir, here you are several times before the election saying that he was just fine. Watch this.
Biden seeking re-election?
Absolutely. I've seen the president twice in the last 2 weeks. I've had a conversation with him. He's completely mentally sharp. When the president is out there, he's at his best. Have him debate in the general election. I don't think Donald Trump will. I have spoken with the president. He is fully coherent. He is on top of details when I have talked to him.
Sure he is.
Were you telling the truth back then?
I was. I have met him a few times at public events, and he was. But of course, I didn't have the full picture. I mean, I met him maybe 2 times on rope lines and at public events. And I do think it's important that, given what has come out, that we take accountability. Obviously, he should not have run. We should be clear to say that. Obviously, there should have been an open primary. And I don't think that's very difficult. Democrats should just be straight up that he should not have run. Now that we know all of the facts,
Can we just take a moment here? Oh my God. This guy said, yeah, I did tell the truth. But I only met him a couple of times. I mean, who are you fooling, dude? You work in Congress. What are you talking about? And if you guys don't know, this is what the media is actually shifting to. The narrative is this. Hey, even though we know the media covered it up, let's just blame it on the White House. And that's exactly what Democrats are going to do. And then what you'll hear from them all, because, you know, they get their talking points. We just want to move forward. Yeah, you guys didn't want to move forward 6 months ago and definitely did not want to move forward a year ago. So it's just laughable.
should have been an open primary. I think to move on and move forward, it's important to take accountability and be straightforward with the American people.
Do you blame him for this or his family? Like, why wasn't there some sort of intervention when clearly it was obvious that something was very wrong? It didn't just happen once or twice. It happened almost weekly.
Ultimately, the buck stops with the president. He made an incorrect decision of running, and given all that the reporting that has come out. Now, look, there were those of us, including me, who were surrogates for him, campaigning for him. When we saw him on a rope line, when we had a 2-minute conversation with him at an event.
But you saw him on TV. You saw him falling down. You saw him, looking around, trying to figure out where he was supposed to go next. So you saw Barack Obama here leading him off the stage as if he didn't know where he was going. So it wasn't that you only saw him in those little instances, right?
Well, I saw him in those instances, and I saw him on television like every other American.
Now, just quickly here, I want to do a personal shout out to today's sponsor, Aura. Because when I signed up, little did I know my personal information was being sold on the dark web. I'm talking my full name, email address, even parts of my social security number. This was a wake-up call. But here's the good part about Aura. They didn't just find it. They actually walked me through how to remove it and lock things down. Since then, I've had fewer spam calls, no weird charges, and peace of mind knowing that they're monitoring my information 24/7. And they can even track your credit, watch your bank accounts, and protect your social security number and home title, and even help keep your kids safe online with parental controls. It's been powerful for my family, and I know it will help yours too. So if you want to do this for yourself, use my link, aura.com/Devori, so you can get 14-day free trial to see it for yourself, or you can hit the link in the description below.
They lied. They knew he wasn't capable of running again, which also, by the way, means he wasn't capable of holding the office at the time. And now they're trying to get everybody to move on. There are legitimate questions about what these Democrats knew, when they knew it, and did they put the country through the biggest cover-up and scandal in modern American political history. It's pretty obvious from this book that's coming out and other accounts that maybe they did.
And I'm kind of surprised to hear you're mad about it.
I'm not. I am mad because I vote in this country. And here's what I'd like to know. Was the elected president of the United States so impaired that he wasn't making the decisions on behalf of the government? That's the question of the day.
Jamie.
And Democrats are going to do whatever they can to not have to answer that question because they just want to move on. And what I actually find to be very funny is the fact that MSDNC is still not talking about this scandal. They won't even go near it. I said this yesterday. It's fascinating. 3 days into this week, and they're still not talking about it. But CNN's continued to talk about this story every single waking minute. Now, maybe that has to do with because Tapper's trying to sell a book and make money. Who knows? But this takes us to our next story, and that is something that is good news coming out of Congress. I think they're finally doing something right. There is new efforts to pass the Pelosi Act. This is preventing people in Congress from stock trading. Yeah, let's hear what Speaker Johnson had to say about that earlier.
Tell you my honest opinion on it. I mean, I'm in favor of that because I don't think we should have any appearance of impropriety here, okay? But the other side of it, some people say, well, look, you know, the salary of Congress has been frozen since 2009. You know, when you adjust for inflation, a member of Congress today is making 31% less than they made in that year. It goes down every year. And over time, if you stay on this trajectory, you're going to have less qualified people who are willing to make the extreme sacrifice to run for Congress. I mean, it's just people just make a reasonable decision as a family on whether or not they can come and move to Washington, have a residence here, residence at home, and do all the things that are required. So the counter argument is, and I have some sympathy, look, at least let them like engage in some stock trading so that they can continue to, you know, take care of their family. But on balance, my view is we probably should do that because I think it's been abused in the past, and I think, sadly, a few bad actors discolor it for everyone. And look, we have no tolerance for anything even resembling insider trading or any of this kind of advantage that anybody could take. Zero tolerance for it, and we'll stamp it out ourselves. So that's why I'm in favor of the policy, but I understand people that have misgivings about that, you know, so we'll see where it lands. Yes.
Now, just for your own information here, Senator Josh Hawley from Missouri has already introduced this bill, but in the Senate. So the House, I guess, is trying to introduce their own bill, and this is a collaboration between Ro Khanna and Mike Lawler. Now, I know we obviously slammed Ro Khanna earlier today, but I guess he can do a couple of things, right? Take a look.
Hey, Ro, do you think you guys can get it done? Or do you think this sympathy for you guys having to have, you know, a redundant lifestyle is going to keep this from passing? Or do you think there's enough public energy behind it now?
I think there's enough energy. It's something that I completely agree with Representative Lawler. And look, I don't trade stocks. My wife doesn't trade stocks. She inherited money and she put it in a trust. It's a diversified trust. The Trust Act simply says ban stock trading. And if you have wealth, as she did, you put it in a diversified trust that eliminates conflicts. That's what people do in the oversight hearing, in the executive branch. And you still be transparent of what's there. But then people know that it's actually in a diversified trust and it's not you calling up a financial advisor. So I think the Trust Act in particular is very well crafted. And just let's get a vote on that.
So Quiver Quantitative, which is a company that has a mobile app that mirrors the stocks that are being traded by congressional members, right here on their account, if you go look at it for yourself, shows all of the bipartisan support for this bill. It just goes on, both Democrat and Republican. But here's the issue. Will they actually do the vote is my question, because these days they're not voting on anything. Now, here's what Mike Lawler had to say as well.
Look, I fundamentally believe we are all elected to serve for however long that our constituents choose to have us here. I do believe in term limits, but I also believe in banning stock trading. The fact is, this is a service. The focus should be on doing the job, serving your constituents, and not making money while in this capacity. If you want to make money, as you said at the top of the show, then go do that. Leave, and that's fine. But the fact is that this is a serious job that actually provides you with a great deal of information, especially when you're talking about the stock market, businesses, tax policy, energy policy, et cetera. And ultimately, I think it's imperative for all of us to, at the very minimum, ensure that people have trust in the system, that the appearance of impropriety is not there, and that the actual impropriety is not there. And so that is why I co-sponsored that legislation last Congress and this Congress, and believe it should come to the floor for a vote.
Yeah, he's right. It should come to the floor for a vote, but will it happen? I'm not too sure. If we just look at recent history, it doesn't seem that that's actually going to take place. We continue to see bills introduced. That doesn't mean they're actually voted on. Okay. And now in other breaking news, California Governor Gavin Newsom, that's what I'm going with tonight, because this is just ridiculous. He has announced that the state is already in a deficit this year after ending last year with a $363 million state surplus. And you know who he blames? President Trump, when he really should be blaming illegal aliens. Take a look.
When we last met in this room, we estimated we said it was in essence a balanced budget, $363 million. That was the estimate in the January presentation, all things being equal. Interestingly, since January, the presentation that I provided you had a revenue projection, and we were off. We were significantly off. The revenue that came in from January through April exceeded our expectation by $7.9 billion. The economy of California was humming. An additional $7.9 billion above our projections we were collecting. That has significantly changed since the actions of this administration. We now project on the basis of the work that's been done by not only our finance team, but those experts that we counsel and engage in an independent review of our estimates. We estimate that the impacts that I just laid out as it relates to what's going on in Washington, D.C., instead of seeing that increase in revenue through April that we were experiencing, again, $7.9 billion above, we're going to see an impact about a $16 billion downturn, not all in the next fiscal year, but fiscal year plus one. This goes into basically a 2-year.
Now, if you were reading on the screen, he calls it the Trump slump. That's who he's blaming, President Trump, meaning it's Washington, D.C. that has caused the state of California to have a $16 billion deficit when it comes to their, estimated revenue. Now, who are you fooling, right? I mean, come on, let's be honest here, all right? I don't even have to dig deep on the numbers here. We know that it's just a bold-faced lie. But this is who Gavin Newsom is, including Democrats. And so now it's time to hear from you guys in the comments section below about a few of these announcements. One is the co-founder of Ben & Jerry's is getting arrested. What is your reaction to that? Also, President Trump's interview with Sean Hannity. What did you think about his comments? And finally, this entire Biden scandal that CNN is continuing to talk about every waking hour, but MSDNC is quiet. Let me know what you guys think about all that in the comments section below. Now, earlier today, a federal judge handed President Trump a major legal victory as it pertains to the Alien Enemies Act. If you missed out on that story, all you have to do is click on that video because it's coming up right now.